matter, wanted to take care of some housekeeping details. Each of you has the ability in your GoToMeeting panel to ask questions, and feel free to key those in. And as we go along, to the extent that we can, we will roll those questions into our broadcast. If for any reason we're unable to, we do have a question and answer period at the end. With that, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to introduce our guests today, Debbie Yost and Christy Roden, both with the Yost Realty Group in Casa Grande, Arizona. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to learn a lot more about Debbie and about Christy in just a minute. But by way of introduction, I wanted to let you know who Real Pro Systems is, because many of you on the call are not familiar with us. Real Pro Systems is nearly a 10-year-old company that produces website systems and internet marketing tools for real estate agents and teams. And the range of systems is from everything for our RPS Silver system designed for agents just getting going in the business or just getting going on the internet, our Gold system, which puts more emphasis on lead generation, more internet marketing tools for a more experienced agent, and our Platinum system, which supports the needs of teams or even brokerages. And so today we'll be talking with Debbie and her team about their use of RPS Platinum to manage the complexity of their business. One thing you need to know is that no matter what system you purchase from us, you have a seamless upgrade path if you decide that you want to move up to the next system. And by doing that, we preserve your investment. So Debbie, why don't you introduce your sales team to us, and then we'll ask you about the client care team. You've got a remarkable business. You've been in real estate for quite a while. You're a noted coach as well. People come to you for advice. Tell us who you have and how you did it. How did you get into real estate as well?
Gosh, Kane, that's a long question. I started in the business in 1980, and my husband Joe joined me shortly thereafter. And we have a daughter who's now 30, who's a big part of our team. She kind of grew up in the real estate business. And early on, we realized that we wanted to have a life, and we knew that systems were going to be really important. We were early adopters of using technology, and boy, in the beginning, that was painful, Kane. We were bleeding edge, and now we don't do that anymore. We're just bleeding edge. So just like anybody, as our business grew, we needed some help, and so we started employing technology, and we started adding people to help us on our team early on. The way we stand right now is we have three buyer agents. We have 4 listing partners, and the team operates with myself, Joe, and Melissa as our management team. We kind of divide up the responsibilities for leading our team between the 3 of us. We also own Remax of Casa Grande. It's brokerage. And so we're talking today about our team system. And so I'm the broker that's ultimately responsible when anything goes wrong. I also kind of focus on leadership, where we're going, analyzing the market, big picture marketing. Joe really handles most of the technology needs, and he's our primary trainer and backup for our buyer's agents. Melissa is a listing agent, and she really focuses on marketing. She has a degree in visual communication, so that's really her forte besides sales, is that she has an eye on marketing, particularly with all the new types of things with social media and Generation X. And so that really embodies our team. While we have folks that specialize either on the buyer or selling side, they're not restricted to just working as a listing agent or a selling agent. It's just the way that new leads come funneled in. They get directed either towards the listing team or towards the buyer team. And so
and you've had incredible success. I mean, I know you don't like me talking or blowing your horn here, but you're consistently in the top 100 Remax teams. You've got 5 years running in the top 250 teams in the U.S. and number 57 in the U.S. in 2011. Just huge success. Congratulations.
Thanks, Kane. We're really lucky to have great clients that support us, and we have a great team. And without the team, that wouldn't happen. And
So touch on the other half of the team here, the client care team then.
The client care team is so important to us. And Kate, I don't know if your slides are moving. Mine are not showing where I'm at, so I don't know if you're at that team slide yet. It might just be our slide. So anyway, our admin team really helps us deliver the kind of service that we want to our clients. We have a listing manager that actually works in Oregon off-site. She worked with us for 8 years and did such a great job when she was moving back to Oregon. We just said, fine, you can keep on doing everything you're doing, just do it remotely. We have a closing manager as well. We have a short sale processor. We have one young lady who's of that Generation X, and she's really in Y and really focusing on the marketing and client care right now. We also have Christy, who's with us today, and she's in charge of systems development, and she also is handling all of our REO properties, all the coordination of maintenance, et cetera, on that, repairs. We have a front desk person because, of course, we own the brokerage as well. And then we have a property management department. So we have a full complement of admin people that support us. And then we have 2 folks that are field inspectors and sign runners, et cetera. So it's a pretty big team.
So that's a lot to coordinate. That's a lot to coordinate. And, of course, that's the focus of our webcast today. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about the area, and then we'll get into the meat of our presentation.
You bet. We're in Arizona, right between the 2 major metropolitan areas in Arizona, Phoenix and Tucson. And so we're right in the middle. And the unique thing about Arizona that's different from many metropolitan areas is that the desert and water limits our growth. If we don't have water, we don't have development. We also have quite a bit of Indian reservations in Arizona. So we're physically separated by desert and Indian reservation from the Phoenix and Tucson areas. Casa Grande has a population of about 50,000. We're known as a really affordable area for winter visitors who love to spend their winters here.
Cool. Well, I know that you were interested in sharing a little video with our audience, which I'll do very quickly here, and then we'll dig into your business.
Sunny for you. Our beautiful weather is ideal for outdoor enthusiasts year-round for hiking, biking, golf, jogging, and tennis, along with numerous indoor facilities. We offer a wide array of medical facilities, public and private educational options, and a diverse atmosphere of employers ranging from manufacturing, agriculture, government, and retail trade. Casa Grande serves as the retail center for Western Pinal County's nearly 100,000 consumers, with merchants from national retail chains at the Promenade Mall to specialty stores in our historic downtown. We invite you to visit us and consider making Casa Grande your. And that just resides right on the front page of our site, Kane, and you've been really instrumental in encouraging us to use video on our site. So that's a great example of introducing the community in less than a minute.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I truncated that a little bit too. I just want to keep us moving. So tell us about the seller side and the buyer side in your market, and then let's get into your processes.
Okay, so we're in a transitioning market. As everybody's probably aware, Arizona peaked a lot in the 2005-2006 year, had drastic appreciation as investors moved into our area. And at one point, we probably lost 60% of our value. So our business really changed in 2007, 2008. And for the last few years, we've had very few what we call retail sellers. The majority of our business has been REO and short sale. And so that really changed how we worked. Much more computer intensity, takes a lot more staff. I mean, almost a full bookkeeper. When you're managing 85 vacant REO properties and you're responsible for paying bills to 18 different utility companies, doing weekly inspections, well, it takes a different type setup than when you're working with a primarily retail type seller. And when I say retail, I mean somebody that actually has equity. So as you can last year, the majority of our sellers were REO with about 14% of our closed transactions in short sale, and then just a very small percentage in resale. Now, the graph on the right, or the pie chart, shows how our market's changed this year. We've had some nice increase. We've had a 40% increase in our median sales price in the last year, and that sounds huge. But when you're talking about the numbers that we are, about $100,000 to $125,000 average sales price right now, not as big as it sounds. So we're transitioning into a market again where people actually do have equity, and so that requires a shift in our staff, a shift in our systems, and a shift in our approach.
Makes sense. How about the buyer side?
You know, it's interesting for our buyers right now. Prices are so affordable. What we're seeing is very discouraged buyers. We've had a drastic decrease in inventory that's available for purchase, and so buyers right now are competing with cash investors. I think 40% of the sales in our area last month were to investors. So we're fighting appraisals, of course. Those cash sales are really nice. So for buyers, it's a little bit discouraging right now, and it takes a little bit more consultation up front, explaining the market that they're going to be in a multiple offer situation, and they're going to be paying more than list price.
Okay, so it's competitive now.
Very competitive. We see multiple offers being written before we actually get a buyer into a property, and then it just brings up lots of challenges.
Yeah, no doubt. And we'll look at some of that diversity in just a minute. Just want to make sure that the slides are coming across okay?
Absolutely.
Okay. So I know you're big on monitoring data in order to try to stay ahead of trends. Very quickly, let's just cycle through a few examples here. So you've got historical data by city.
You bet. And, you know, I think that the job of the leader is to see what's happening in the marketplace and be prepared before those trends hit. So really for about the last 15 months, we've been anticipating a dropping in inventory level, and we've been changing how we're approaching things. And so I'm tracking these kinds of things every week. I want to see what's on the market, what price ranges are moving, what areas are moving, so that we can be positioned to take advantage of that opportunity. So,
so
you're
it's
right.
back to the old thing of knowing your numbers, right?
Absolutely. So we primarily specialize in 4 cities, Casa Grande being the largest of those. And so we're looking at this data. It's really important as well for our agents to be able to speak about these things instantly. So this is just some of the data that I track. It's my job to climb up the palm tree, survey the horizon, and say, okay, folks, this is where we're headed.
So you've got that historical data, you've got summary data on listings and listing prices, absorption rate. Tell us in a second or two about absorption rate. What do you think of when you look at that?
Oh, gosh, it's really critical when you're sitting down to determine where you can price, particularly in a transitioning market where you're going to have multiple offers. How high can you get that price and still be able to complete the sale? And so knowing what price points are selling, how fast the market is absorbing those properties is really important. And one of the things that's interesting is our MLS really combines active with contingency, meaning short sales as active. So our numbers look like we have more on the market than we actually do.
Mm-hmm. And so here's your supply and demand in another view, and then this is the amazing thing. Look at the market share that RE/MAX Casa Grande enjoys. Wow. Just huge.
Thanks. Really important. And it's important to me to be watching our seller sides versus our buyer sides and see if we're leaving any money on the table because we're not capturing that side of the business.
Sure. So your volume is still huge. It looks like an awful lot of it is past clients and referrals versus generating a ton of new leads, huh?
You know, it really is, and I like to say those referrals are really important. We know that it costs 7 times as much money to obtain a new client as it does to service an existing one, and I don't know where that stat came from. But we all know the difference when we have a referred client and the trust level that's there compared to somebody that's just calling you out of the blue. So we really continue to focus on those relationships, sphere of influence, and that includes businesses as well as individuals.
So tell us a little bit about the kinds of things you do to engage your past clients or your sphere.
Well, you know, that Generation Y we have to be aware of. They're going to spend more money than the baby boomers ever spent. And so we're looking at how do we engage that. Our marketplace is so diverse with winter visitors being here for a good part of the year, families being here, and then we're looking to engage that younger group and the moms that really enjoy Facebook. So that's one of the things we're doing here is we believe in supporting our community. So we're doing that with the Happy Thanksgiving card by offering, we buy these really beautiful scenic Arizona calendars, and so we're just sponsoring a toy and food drive-in and return handing them their calendar. We also did something very interesting with this Halloween contest. We had 3 different categories for photos, and we're using an add-on to Facebook called Short Stack. It allows a lot of functionality. It's shortstack.com, just like it sounds. And so what we did was we invited our clients to take photos of their Halloween costumes, and there was a couple different categories. Then they upload them onto our Facebook page, and they share that page with their friends and have their friends vote for the best pictures. So there's a lot of engagement there. And I think we're up 200% this week in Facebook views and activity on our business page because we're inviting people to engage and share our page to vote for their favorite pictures.
Wow, and that's clearly a huge shift in marketing technique versus 5 or 7 years ago or something like that. Tell us a little bit about your history with systems, and then we'll dive into what you're doing today.
Well, you know, Kane, Joe and I joined forces early on in our business, and what we found was really interesting. Somebody would talk to me and think because I was married to Joe that I was inside his brain, and they would think that I would know what he would know and vice versa. So early on in our business, we knew that we needed to have some sort of a system. We also, by bringing on administrative people, wanted to vacation together. So we had a very early belief structure that anybody on our team should be able to help a client in a transaction at any point. And so we've been early adopters of technology. You know, we started with Top Producer. We waited we waited for a networked version. And I'm talking a long time ago. We moved to Agent Office, and that transition was so painful in transferring data that we hadn't changed until really this year. We ran with Agent Office that long. Even though we purchased your Gold site in 2007 and used that to replace our #1 expert site, which I think we've been with them for about 10 years, we just really migrated this year our full database over into RealPro. And it really came about as a result of the way our business has been running the last few years. We're running so much different software. We were running Agent Office for all of our plans, but our agents really weren't using it anymore because it wasn't accessible from the field easily. We were using RealPro, of course, for the leads that were coming in from our website. We're using Broker Brain to manage our REO business. We're using Short Sale Commander to manage our short sale process. We're using property management software. And then with all the REO companies, they all have their own proprietary software. And so we were spending so much time with double entry and all these different systems. I really wanted to clean out our data. I wanted to avoid duplicate entry where possible. I wanted it to be web-based, and I wanted all the leads from all of the different places that we're marketing to automatically funnel into our main database. Not only that, I wanted the leads to get to our agents faster. I didn't want them to have to wait and come into a central lead person who then would push them back out. Microwave service is what people are used to right now, and so I wanted to speed everything up, consolidate, and make as easily accessible from the field as possible. Now, when I make changes like this, I don't make my team happy, that's for sure. Change is hard, and particularly because the first time you don't always get it right. So this was a big project for us to do this year, and we're still working on it.
It does take time, for sure. For our listeners, I'll give you a brief overview of what's in RPS Platinum, and then we'll bounce right back to how Debbie's team is implementing, which is the key to managing complexity. RPS Platinum is a substantial, you could even call it all-in-one system that combines a complete set of tools for web marketing presence, a main website, mobile website, blog, a home search stealth site, that's an unbranded website that encourages people to register for lead capture, a home value stealth site that is similar but more offering services to sellers, Facebook business page that's styled to go with the main website, integrated IDX, automated CMA capability, and showing feedback. So it's an enormous amount of functionality on the web management side of things, but it's combined with a complete CRM and business management system that provides full team support. And that section includes contact management, automatic lead import from 35 different industry standard sources, popular tools like Top Producer, Number One Expert, you name it, automatically coming into one place, lead management, transaction management, mobile access to contacts, team calendar with task management capability. We'll look at that in a minute. Action plans we'll look at quite a bit. Automated follow-up system, including drip, email, campaigns, blasts, groups, etc. Video management, and a business dashboard to overlook the whole thing. So this is a tremendous amount of functionality in one package. So when Debbie talks about consolidating, this provides some specific benefits. You've got one multi-user system with one user interface, one vendor to call when there's an issue. And then the result is you can dive from one part of the system to another to get instant visibility of what's going on. And for the most part, our agents are successful at eliminating duplicate data entry because so much functionality can be leveraged from within the same system. One last comment on Platinum before we go back to Debbie and Christy, and that is that this is a business-oriented system that has all the detail, but it also provides a 30,000-foot view of your business. This particular screen grab shows the business dashboard for an agent who's attracting about 300 visitors per week to her website. We're seeing a lead flow of between 25 and 50 leads a week, some incubation information about email being sent out from the system, active prospects who are ready, able, and willing to engage in a transaction but have not yet gone pending, actual pending deals, gross sales. And that information is conveyed here 6 months back and 6 months looking forward. So it's very much a business-oriented consolidation of all the various pieces of data, and each one of these elements can be clicked on to do a deeper dive to get down into the detail. Now, Debbie, you currently have several websites. Tell us a little bit about these, please.
You bet. Our main website, we think that is our front door, and so we find that people that even have been past clients go to there frequently for information. And so this is like our vault of information, and we push different URLs to this site. For example, we have a really nice presentation for sellers, what most people would think of as a pre-listing kit, and that's underneath our under our banner of selling. And so we also have our short sale site. That's CasaGrandeShortSales.com. That feeds right to the short sale site, and then we build all of these things right underneath it. So they all have individual URLs, but they're all housed on our main site.
So this main website here has all of that connectivity, and you're funneling people here, right?
You bet. We even have the little Canadian sign up there because we have a lot of Canadian purchasers, and so we wanted to let them take a look and have that attract their attention right away, and what might be different about buying in the States is different from Canada. And then we've tied that together with a silver site that manages our rental property. And so we have a property management division. And so tying that site right to our main site, it looks the same, it's branded the same, but it's specifically on rental property, and it keeps those rental inquiries separate from the buyer inquiries, which was really important for our buyer agent team.
Yeah, makes total sense. And then also you had mentioned in one of our conversations the importance of mobile. And so here's one of your mobile websites. You may have others I'm not aware of. Permitting folks.
So important for consumers because they're out there using their smartphones, and you know what it's like if you can't get information easily on your smartphone or your mobile device. So that's really important, and we appreciate that's part of the RealPro system.
Cool. Okay, so you had mentioned using email tools. Just share with us a little bit about what you're using the email tools for. I've created a few examples here, but I know you have others, and just share with us your thoughts there.
Moving all of it's really a focus of back to basics and communicating with people, and it still remains the number one complaint to NAR about realtors is that they don't communicate. So we answer the same questions all the time, and so we just sit down and put those into systems and starting to integrate a little bit of video. So we use email for so many different things. We do a weekly blast with new listings rather than sending them out each time. There's, I think, 4,800 people on that sign up that are getting new listings from us every week. We use a little bit with video, and then we really like the newsletter functionality. And of course, you pre-package a newsletter if you don't have time to write it. We really made a commitment this fall to rewriting our own stats, so those are going out. And we're using this so much now that we've had to create a company calendar so that we don't send too much email to people.
That's really important because you don't want to exhaust the list, do you?
The other thing that's really nice about this system is that each one of our team members has their own team stationery. So the newsletter can go out to Andrea's clients with her branded stationery. And that's really important because it's branding the team and the agent. And so each person goes out on their own stationery, and that's really nice.
Cool. Now, you already shared with us about this photo contest, so I'm sorry I had this slide out of order, but are there any other comments you wanted to make on using email to drive activity for this?
Well, I have to say I'm a high D, if anybody knows what that means. I'm a driver, and so many times I can get lost in, we're only here to do real estate transactions. No, we're not. We're here to make clients and relationships for life and serve people in any way that we can. And so, my team has to remind me occasionally that we're in the relationship business. And so these are the kind of things that really make sense in the community and people like. And so maybe it's not bringing me a transaction today, but I'll tell you what, it's bringing me a transaction tomorrow and from their friends. So that's why we're doing this.
Cool. Very cool. So you mentioned having all your leads come into one place, and it looks like you've got quite a few lead sources, not only from within RPS Platinum, but you've got Buyer Acquire, CDPE, Zillow, and others. And you also shared with me that while you have been using the system to route leads automatically, you're kind of two minds about whether you want your agents handling leads as the first point of contact or having a central lead coordinator. What are your thoughts there?
Okay, I'll give you both schools of thought on that. One of the things that I really love about your system is that if we have a particular page, like from the email home search, that lead's going to come in and it doesn't get stopped. It's going to get routed. A new lead is going to get routed directly the way we have this set up here on routing. So the top of that current routing shows how new buyer leads might come in, and then home valuation requests on the bottom of that. And so you can see if a new home value request comes in, it's going to round robin between our agents, and it's also going to assign them to some of the campaigns that we've set up. And it takes a minute to think about how a campaign is different than an action plan. They're really both valuable tools, and you want to set up building them so that they work together. So that's what you see here. Now, when we first moved to Platinum, Kane, we did use a lead incubator. And after doing that for about a year and a half, we found that our closings, 28% of our closings were coming from our website and our incubator. Our incubator saw how great it was to work these leads and became an agent. So we didn't replace. We just said, okay, well, this is working well. We'll just change this routing and we'll put the routing in place. We've been talking about going back to an incubator, and our team absolutely is in favor. They voted last week. They're actually willing to pay for incubation. So how we're going to shift that back, we've got somebody in training for that right now. What that means is it's an unlicensed person that's going to act as a customer care representative for our internet site. And we actually title it Internet Client Care Coordinator. And so it's a soft service type of thing. They'll follow up. They'll put the person on a plan. So we create flow charts and campaigns so that when a new buyer lead comes in, she can qualify them by some of the things that they ask about, and they can either automatically go on a campaign, or if it's a hot buyer, it's going to get right back out to one of our buyer agents. And so that's one of the keys we find in really turning those cold leads to warm to hot, is servicing them. Things like saying, I've noticed on your IDX search that you're getting a ton of properties. Would you like us to help narrow that down? Or we noticed that you're not getting very many properties. Could we help you shift the parameters of your search? Or you can see somebody really looking at property. Gosh, they're hot. That means our incubator needs to get in there and dialogue with them a little bit, and they might be ready to assign to an agent. So we'll be back on that system by December 1st.
So adapting based on results. I like it. So one of the things you said to me once was, nobody knows that you guys do transaction management. And so we're going to now delve into the details about just how the Yost team is managing transactions in RPS Platinum. And they've been on the system, for maybe 6 months or so this certainly isn't their whole year's worth of activity. But let's dig right in to the notion that RPS Platinum does, in fact, not just manage leads, but also the concept of dealing with active prospects differently from leads, and specifically managing transactions or possible transactions for people we're working with. So this is a partial screen grab of the 45 current pending deals that your team is working on. And just for our listeners, if a user clicks on any one of these particular transaction sites, then they're brought up to a page that really delves into the details of the transaction. And, of course, the names have been redacted out of privacy concerns. So with that understanding, let's understand another facet of Platinum that's also key to keeping a transaction on track, and that is that the team calendar in Platinum provides not only the ability to make appointments visible across the team, as shown in the top half here, but also tasks, as shown in the bottom half. So you can assign a task for just about any purpose that you want, and in fact, task types are configurable in the system. So here's an example taken from the Yost team that's creating a new task, and here's some specific task types. But these could be used for follow-up reminders, like I need to call this person back in 3 days, administrative tasks, like I need to make sure I get this sign pulled, checklist items, tasks that are part of an action plan, or just individual tasks that can be assigned to anyone on the team as well as yourself. So, for example, in good sales practice, we certainly encourage agents, when they make a phone call trying to follow up on a lead, to always set themselves a reminder so that they'll do it again if they weren't able to get through. Debbie or Christy, any comments on the kinds of things you use tasks for before we go into action plans?
First, I'm going to tell you about my philosophy, and that is if we do anything more than once, it becomes a system. And I mean, I believe that down to the point of when we have a new employee join us or somebody leave. I mean, it goes all the way down to, changing the security codes and letting all the people that serve us in the office know what those are. Because the first time you change a security code and you don't notify somebody that's coming in late at night to do some maintenance or cleaning, and you have to come down and meet the police, you realize, oh, I don't want to keep all that in my head. So my belief structure is that not only do we have a life, but all of our team members have lives. We're not down here late at night working. We're not working weekends unless there's specific appointments. And I want anybody that is working with us, no matter whether their particular agent is in town, they can get answers to anything because we're all able to use the system and see exactly where they are. In addition, I want people to be able to go watch a school program when their kids are in it. I want them to take time off or stay home if they're sick. And so my belief is that anybody should be able to sit at anybody's desk or pull up their action plan from where they are. And remember, we have people working off-site, and be able to step in. So our action plans are very detailed. They're very, very specific, and they don't leave anything to chance. I want to know that if a property is listed today, that these things are going to happen automatically because they're part of our plans.
Right.
So
we'll dig into that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Christy's our systems person, and so we sit down and we envision what is it that we want to happen from point A to point B, and we don't try to make one big plan that covers everything. We have lots of small plans. And then what are the questions that are asked of a client during that, and we build the action plan and the campaign together, and then we test it before we implement it.
Okay, cool. I'm going to show an example of that in just a sec. Christy, can you just, as somebody who's using this every day, how do you approach the task list? How do you use this view?
The task list is really helpful in that you can search by day, you can search by week, as you can see there, and be able to filter your tasks. You can actually sort the task by priority. You can also sort it in other ways. So it's very flexible in how you can use it. But we use this to be able to manage all the different transactions and tasks involved with those various transactions on a daily basis. So I go to this daily. We also have an email that is sent at the beginning of the day that has our agenda and our tasks listed in the email form to give us a brief overview, but then we can come here and manage those tasks from the task list here, or we can from here go to the client record, the contact themselves, and manage it from the detailed side of things also.
So without even logging into the system, the email kind of gives you a sense of what your to-do list is going to be that day.
Exactly. It gives you an overview of everything that is tasked to you for that day, yes.
For our audience who may not be familiar with the concept of action plans, an action plan is simply a templated list of tasks that need to be performed to accomplish an overall goal. So Debbie was explaining a little bit about her process for putting these together. Anything that you're repeating multiple times should be codified or formalized in some sort of an action plan. It can be as simple as a sequence of tasks to be executed like a checklist for a single person, or it could assign tasks to different people on the team, whether they're agents or whether they're administrative staff. And while we're going to now talk about how the Yost team uses these for transactions, these are also useful for leads or for contacts in order to remind an agent or an administrative person of something that they need to do. And so any one of these tasks that you see here will actually then show up on the task list on the appropriate day that we were just looking at a moment ago. So the concept here is that because the action plan may be assigning things to different people on the team, they see their particular piece of it on their respective task lists or calendars, but they don't have to be responsible for the entire thing. And this is where the coordination comes in. Now, Christy, I'm going to pop over to a browser here and take a look at all the action plans that the Yost team has in place. I think there's over 30 of them. Can you give us a little bit of a walkthrough of why you need all of these? Why so many?
Oh, certainly. We have a system for everything, as Debbie explained. With her philosophy, we want to ensure that nothing gets missed. From initial contact with folks, with sellers, we have plans for pre-listing before the seller actually decides to list with us. We have a plan that involves agent and admin to put packages together, set appointments to speak with that potential client, and from there we have plans for listing the property, and then from listing into transactions, from transactions into closing, and even into follow-up plans after closing, and keeping in touch with that client and making sure that we're kept fresh in their mind as they continue on from the transaction that they had with us. There are plans for listings. There are plans for buyers. We have plans for our bank-owned properties, our REO properties, which are diverse as well, because those are actually in stages where we have, from the initial assignment to finding out the actual status of the assignment, whether it's vacant or occupied, and then from maintaining it to in the pre-list stage until it's actually listed. And then there are just a variety of different types of transactions that we have to have plans in place to be able to accommodate, whether it's a cash transaction or not, whether it's a short sale transaction versus a regular retail transaction, in addition to those bank-owned types of transactions.
Very cool. Interesting. Okay. So let me pop back to our PowerPoint slides. I've just lost my browser. There we go. And here's an example where you've actually got more than one action plan assigned to a single transaction. How would that happen?
Well, as Debbie mentioned, we don't have plans that are extensive to where they cover everything. We break it up into stages. So we have different plans that are assigned at different times to the client. From here, you can see where they were first listed. We have the listing plan, the retail listing plan. As that progressed and we went under contract, we have a Transaction Manager 1 plan, which is the first part of the transaction. And then we go to a pending plan as we enter into escrow. This particular example, while under contract, actually fell out of escrow, which could have been for inspection reasons or something of that nature. And then because we also have a Transaction Manager 2 plan showing there, our closing transaction, it looks as though we were able to go back under contract to negotiate the proper items for that deal and finish it out with Transaction Manager 2. So from there, we could even assign the follow-up plans with that client. So there are a variety of plans that can be assigned to one individual client.
So this is shown here as active. These are plans that were completed in the past, and here's an example of one that was completed for a particular transaction, and you're showing the date that each task was completed, who on the team it was assigned to, who assigned the tasks in the first place. So you can imagine, for our listeners can imagine, that if they want a complex transaction to go like clockwork, they have to define what success looks like. And you guys have just done a marvelous job of spelling this out here. Here's another one. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I appreciate you recognizing that. It's a complex process. You have to involve everyone on the team that's going to be involved in that particular plan, and be able to coordinate everyone and still make the plans flow so that it makes sense and can be executed seamlessly without missing anything. And it's very complex to try and put together, and it's a process and it takes time. But when you're completed with it really just helps everyone stay on top of everything and really helps things go smoothly.
Sure.
So I want to just talk about our process on that, if it's okay. we usually sit down first, Christy and I kind of give her an overview of my vision of what I'd like the client experience to be like. And then she breaks that down and she'll sit down with whichever admin person is involved in that and gets a task. Then she builds it in Word first. And then we have a specific meeting with the team members that are going to be involved in that. Like if it's a listing item, the 4 listing agents will sit down with us, and the listing manager will be on the phone from Oregon, and we'll walk through that and we'll say, what are we missing? Does this make sense? And so we'll revise it. Then she'll build it in RealPro, and then we test it before we implement it system-wide.
Neat. And I notice here you've got some, we're going to talk about this in just a sec. We're going to have to pick up the pace here a little bit. This is so interesting, but we're running out of time. You've got, launch RealPro campaign, buyer 10-day countdown to close of escrow. We'll look at that in just a minute, what that means. But that's an action where you're actually instructing Tracy is going to actually go move somebody into a campaign, and we'll see that in a sec, like I said. So, for that particular transaction, I identified, at least looking at this, 4 different people that are being coordinated on your team just to make sure that that particular transaction flows, and each of them has their respective task list as shown there. So, Debbie or Christy, I think you've pretty much articulated most of these benefits of action plans and why you rely on them so heavily. Is there anything else that comes to mind that you'd like to add to this or emphasize?
The only thing I want to just really hit on is how wonderful the campaigns can be when you build them, because you can increase the level of service to the client by just answering the typical questions that will come up before they ask them. And they're the same things over and over. So, for example, that 10-day countdown to closing, we really want to increase our service level in those 10 days. And we know that the seller is going to have questions about, what do I do with my keys again? What do I do with my utilities again? Can I cancel my insurance? So these are pre-set up so that they're getting this information proactively from us. And what happens is you just see a client from the very first experience with us after a couple of interactions, they just relax because they know we're on top of things. And so that campaign piece is a beautiful piece to add to an action plan.
I don't know that that's widely used, so I think that's a really great idea that our listeners can benefit from, whatever tool they're using, is to keep that communication going as part of an action plan. It's very cool. And one of the things you talked about is email, so just kind of finishing up that notion there, you have an awful lot of different email groups. I'm assuming that's because you're focusing messages that are specific to their expressed interest. Is that right?
Oh, you bet. There's nothing like getting a listing from somebody in Washington State, and I live in Arizona, and I have no interest in buying a house in Washington State. So tailoring messages to the client group is really important. It shows that you're paying attention to who they are and what their needs are.
Okay, cool. Well, at this point, I think we might have a couple of questions. Bear with me while I take a peek here to see what has come in. One question was, what's the difference between an action plan and a campaign? So, well, why don't I ask Christy to take that one?
Sure. Your action plan is going to be your task list, basically. It's the details of how you want that particular plan to go forth. The campaign is coordinated with that action plan, so you really have to be careful on, when you're building your campaign, what days those particular items are going to go out, the nature and the subject of those items so that they coordinate with where they're falling within your action plan. But the campaign are your auto-generated emails that are set up to automatically go out to your client that the action plan is tied to. And as Debbie mentioned, they're the pieces of that action plan or transaction plan that are common questions that we receive from clients or common items that can be carried through a variety of types of plans and transactions that will make sense and keep that client updated on what's going on and give them the reminders that they need automatically for things that are coming up or things that they may need to look at and take care of at that time.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay. Another question, probably is one I'll answer. It's asking, well, first I guess the question can go to the Yost team, which is how do you attach or manage the documents related to transactions? And the second part is, does Platinum provide document storage? The answer to the second part is no. Platinum does not provide document storage per se. So let's ask the Yost team, how do you handle document storage for the transactions you're managing?
You know, I searched for one program, one solution that would have all of the listing and transaction management and contact management and document storage at the same time, and I didn't find anything that had everything. So we look at it this way. We use another technology solution for document storage online and for sending those documents back and forth. We just look at that as like the filing cabinet. So we use an online filing cabinet, and there's lots of different ways you can do that. I mean, as simple as using Dropbox with different folders to the different technology solutions that are out there on the market.
Okay. Another person asks, as I recall, you built your business, sold it, and took it back over again to build it up again. I don't know if that's true or not. And then the person is asking, what can you tell us you learned about systems that would help us grow from the second time you took it over, if that's correct?
Yep, that's true. We sold our business in 2006, came back and took it back in 2007. I believe that without the systems that we had in place, we wouldn't have had a business to come back to. We're very fortunate in being able to continue to have market share based on our reputation and our service with other people. Without those systems, our business wouldn't have been recognizable at all.
Okay.
I hope that answers what the questioner was asking.
Yeah, I believe it did.
Systems run everything.
Related, speaking of systems, the question is, whose IDX do you use?
We use yours, Kane.
So RPS partners with IDX Broker, and the Platinum system has IDX Broker embedded in it in markets where supported for IDX is available, which is about 500 MLSs around the country. So that's just integrated. Let's see, other questions? Sorry, we got just paging through here. We got that one covered, got that one covered. Okay, I guess that's it for right now for our immediate questions. So I'll go ahead and close with a couple remaining comments. The first is that if anybody has a client that's interested in moving to Arizona and maybe hasn't even picked a location, or they know they want to go to Casa Grande, of course the Yost Realty Group would welcome any referrals. And as mentioned earlier, Debbie is also a noted coach, and so she has a variety of programs available, and certainly can help you with your team management needs. So if you are interested in exploring that, please do visit debbieyost.com. That's, of course, completely separate from our day-to-day real estate business, debbieyost.com. Also, by way of closing, I'll just mention that if you have further interest in RPS Platinum and all that it offers, we'd be happy to spend time with you on that. We have Real Pro Systems. And so, just by way of summarizing what we've heard, it really is a single system of record for the whole team, keeping everybody on the same page. It's a business-focused approach, so it's not just lead management, but it's actually what's the outcome of generating leads and working them. You could have, a pretty widespread web presence with all the various web tools that we show in the upper half of this diagram, including lead generation tools, accountability across the team. We of course think it's an amazing value. Maybe if you took a closer look, you'd think so too. And so if you are interested in exploring RPS Platinum any further, we'll be happy to discuss that with you. In round numbers, if you're setting up for a team of 5, it would be about $3,000 as a one-time fee, and an ongoing monthly service of about $399. If you want us to perform pay-per-click advertising for you, that would add to that cost. There is a single-user version available. It has all the functionality except for the multi-user login and sharing of information across a team, and and that costs a little bit less. So if you want to explore that further, you can call us for a free consultation. We have a sales team that's very much interested in discovering your needs rather than trying to force fit something. We'd be happy to spend time helping you assess whether this is a fit or not. You can email us, just sending a message to sales@realprosystems.com to receive additional information. We have a product brief available, a white paper about applying sales pipeline management to real estate, as well as a description of service for our pay-per-click Platinum Leads program. And of course, you can visit realprosystems.com. At this point, we've pretty much reached the top of the hour, and so because we're out of time, we'll go ahead and close out our webcast now. I'd like to thank Debbie Yost and Christy Roden so profusely for taking time out of your busy schedules to share with us how you're managing complexity. Thank you for that. And for anyone who wants to follow up with either Debbie or with Real Pro Systems, please shoot a message to sales@realprosystems.com if it's about the webcast content, and if it's specifically about wanting to reach out to Debbie for coaching, by all means, visit debbieyost.com. At this point, we thank you all, our listeners, for joining us. We appreciate your time, and please let us know how we can serve you. And thank you to you, Christy and Rody, and Debbie, one last time. Have a good rest of the day, everybody. Thanks. Bye-bye.